Scott, I'll let you do your thing.
1 second, okay. You're live.
I'll start that over again.
We have to have people introduce themselves.
Okay. We do have a quorum today, and we will start the meeting off with board members introducing themselves now that we are being live streamed. I'll start. My name is Sam Gullo.
Rick Fish.
I'm Dan Moore.
Jim Brick.
You want to go around the entire table, Jim? Sure. Okay. Kevin Zanner, IDA Council. Parker Bray.
Robin Marcello, IDA staff.
Brianna Stone, board member.
Scott Gardner, IDA staff.
Jennifer Tishka, IDA staff.
Mark George. Jim Pierce, IDA staff and business center president.
All right, thank you all for coming this morning, and let's move right on to the administrative section of today's agenda. We'll start with a review and approval of the minutes of the March 6th, 2024 meeting. Which is second in here.
I would make a motion.
We have a motion. Can we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Is there any discussion, questions about the minutes for March 6th? Hearing none, let's vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on now to the financial report.
I'm gonna, everybody has one, they can review it. Robin didn't send it to me prior to today, so I'm gonna yield to her if she wants to comment on it in any way.
Robin, do you have any highlights of the financial report that you'd like to discuss?
No, I'll just point out that as far as our income, we did bring in funding from the business or from the Board of Supervisors for the first 2 quarters, and then you see the principal that we brought in on the loans, and then the EPA brownfield grant, that was income coming in from the EPA, and then our typical monthly expenses, but it was from March through July, just this is not just 1 month worth. And then down at the other disbursements, we had the $10,000 loan to Creative Foods in Warsaw, which is the Nick Gates' project across the street here. And then from this valley, loan proceeds, he was the mushroom guy, if you guys remember, he had the mushroom business.
Yes.
So we did that. And then the other expenses of the $341.58, that's the project expenses for the MK project that we saw this time period. So. And then on the back is the budget, and that just reflects all the expenses that we've had to date. And we're a little over halfway through the year, so it does reflect that we've gotten more than half of our revenues in, and we've gone a little bit over, a little over half of our expenses, so we're right on target.
Okay, very good. Does anybody have any questions on this financial statement? Looking for a motion to approve it.
I would make a motion.
You have a motion, second. Dan. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, review and complete the board member compliance documents.
That I have to apologize, guys, I did not get them ready for you, so we'll have
So,
to.
when does that
table
have to be done?
Just sometime during the year, I have to put it on the Paris during, but for the year, so
Okay, so
we have time.
We have time to do it
Yeah.
at another meeting.
Just so the board knows, we're under a little pressure. The comptroller's office has decided the IDA should be a target of an audit first time in 10 years that they've done that. So they've been camped out here for 2 consecutive weeks. And so,
And they've scheduled for the next 3 weeks so far, so
Yeah.
they're gonna be here for a while.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
yes.
There are 5 towns in the county that are also being audited for their, right, ours starts Monday, but they've been doing audits for tax collection.
I see. Yeah, they told us it was for internal controls, which they've gone into different directions.
And she said that next week she's gonna give us their objective, which means they're looking into everything, and then when they find a spot where they think that is like the weakest link, I guess, they're going to dive deeper into that. That's their objective.
So that homework assignment will be done.
Okay, well, maybe next meeting we can take care of that one.
Yes.
All right,
Yes, I apologize.
no problem at all. We have time. All right, then let's move on to section 2, action items. First one, review and approve proposed 2025 budget request.
Yeah, your board packet is a request. Essentially, we're asking for the same level of funding that we received from the Board of Supervisors last year of $80,000. This was actually due last week to the county, but I contacted Janice Cook over at the county and told her that I'm not comfortable submitting a budget without board authorization to do so, and it would be a week before I got it done, so that's why it's on the agenda today. There isn't a lot of big changes other than our county administrator has come up with a new form, and so the narrative is in a format that they decided would work best for all the contract agencies as well as department heads. But we haven't changed any significant programming at this point. So we're going to continue running the same programs that we have always run, including the fast track, our lending programs, the training programs for the entrepreneurs, for technical assistance, the Accelerator Academy, the mentorship program. So everything is pretty much going to stay the same. And then I think included is a summary spreadsheet of the 2024 budget, as well as what's being requested for 2025. And you can see that there really aren't any significant changes from the previous year. So you're keeping the same administrative level with the IDA to run the organization that we had last year. So there's no increase there. And then, so everything is going to be about the same. We will eventually have to contribute the $50,000 that the Business Center dedicated as the match for the EPA grant for the MK cleanup project. We haven't done that yet. But we are committed to that. And we'll give a little update about the MP project when we get down on the agenda. So I would present that as the requested budget, and if there are any questions, we'd be happy to entertain those. We also included as recommended.
Can we just stop,
Sure.
Getting back to the 2024 budget? It always piques my interest when I see a red number.
Red ink, yeah, that's not a good sign, right?
And that coincides with the amount we're funding the MP project.
That's exactly what it is. We have not committed to, or we haven't used the money yet. So we're showing that as a deficit.
So we are going to end the 2024 with a deficit.
Oh, break even.
Pardon me?
It'll be a break even.
It will be a break even. Okay.
Yeah,
Carry over.
I want to make sure we use up all the EPA funding first
Okay.
before we put our money
Yeah,
in.
this is.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, and then the county also wanted a copy of our P&Ls and our balance sheet. So the P&L only covers from January till August 14th of this year, so it's a partial P&L. And then, of course, the balance sheet as well. So this is what our plan is to submit to the county. You can see on our balance sheet, we have a pretty healthy portfolio of loans, which is the important thing that we do here.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to submit to the county.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any other discussions or questions about the budget we're planning on submitting to the county? County is probably encouraging us to keep a flat budget from 2024.
Yeah, that goes without saying, I think.
Okay. And this, you feel comfortable that we can operate efficiently, not just efficiently, but productively with the budget as it's presented?
Yeah, I think the other thing the board should know is that, being that the business center is a 501c3, we are constantly looking at other grant funding sources. And I know just yesterday, Jennifer submitted a grant for $25,000 for a program called Springboard, which is a entrepreneurship program that's part of the Ralph Wilson Foundation. So,
That's in the report.
Okay.
so we'll see what
I'll
happens.
talk a little bit more about that when we get to the programs.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Very good, thank you. All right, now we're ready to go to our micro loan request, Raise the Bar Woodworks from Strikersville. And Mark, you're gonna start this off?
No, actually, we're going to start with Parker,
We're gonna start
Mr.
with Parker.
Chairman. Yeah. I want to introduce Parker Bray. He resides in Strikersville. He's had a business that he started while he was in college, and you'll get a little history about that. But Parker has already made plans to enroll in our fast track program, and he comes from a family of entrepreneurs, and so he has submitted a request for a business that he wants to grow.
You know, Parker, I had sent a note to Jim. You have a most impressive resume.
Thank you.
At such a young age.
At such a young
Appreciate it.
age.
Thank you.
Sure.
Alrighty, let's do it. Here's a couple paper copies of the presentation if you want to get a closer look at some of the things in there.
What's the dog's name, Parker? We don't know that,
That's Frank.
right?
That's important. Yeah, he's the mascot.
Sure.
Are we on this side or this side?
Probably there.
Okay.
Make sure your remote works there. So, hey,
Perfect.
great, you are ready to go.
Alrighty, so my name is Parker. I'm on behalf of Raise the Bar Woodworks, and we specialize in commercial signage and CNC machining. And we'll talk more about what that looks like in a second. But before we get started, we'll do a little bit of a timeline of kind of where I've been at and kind of where we're headed. So I've been doing this kind of thing since I could walk and probably before I could even talk. So since 2001, putting in a little over 23 today. Growing up, I always had a project going on with my dad, whether we were taking apart something and making it worse, than it originally was when it was broke, or, playing with Legos and Lincoln Logs and Hot Wheels and stuff like that. There was always something going on. We have a pretty good sized shop behind my parents' house, and we were always tinkering in there and, just having fun and, working with our hands. So that was great. But then I graduated high school in 2019 from Holland, and then I went to St. Bonaventure for business marketing, and I graduated in 2023 on Mother's Day. And obviously that was kind of goofed up with COVID. Second semester of freshman year, we got sent home for 6 weeks. That turned into, seemed like forever. But during that time, it was kind of, a little bit unknown. So I spent most of my time in the shop. And to rewind a little bit, Christmas of 2019, my grandpa, my dad's dad, had a pretty avid woodworking shop in his basement. He used to go down there and just make all sorts of cool stuff. He never really brought me down there to make stuff, but I knew he had the shop down there. And he got up in age, and he knew that I had appreciation for that kind of thing. So he's like, "Listen, you can get out of the basement, you can have it." And that was a challenge in itself. Up a flight of stairs, out the garage, into the back of the trailer was an event in itself. But we got it out, got it all set up in my dad's shop, hooked up the dust collection, and I spent a lot of time out there puttering with that kind of thing, and had a lot of fun doing it, and kept all my fingers on. So I was like, okay, this is kind of fun and exciting. So kind of what else can we do with this? And that's when I found a CNC machine, which is hobbyist model. It fit on top of this table. It was pretty much just for small projects, for hobbyist model, I guess you could say. And did a lot of tinkering, that kind of thing. And I was like, this is super fun. It's pretty inexpensive to learn. Got the hang of it and started making a bunch of cool projects for people. and kind of expanded that and started making projects for people I didn't know and businesses I didn't know. And I was like, okay, probably should make this official. The bookkeeper in my mom was like, before the IRS finds out, you need to make this official. I was like, all right. So we declared business in 2021 and kind of capitalized on the opportunity to be home from school just to make sawdust as much as possible. Finally got sent back to Bonaventure, and I kind of structured my schedule. So I only had class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it was from like 8:30 to 6. Typically I had class. So it was a pretty packed schedule. That gave me the opportunity to work from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's like come home, work as much as possible, then go back to school Tuesday morning for class. So that was pretty efficient. I was happy with that routine, and helped me grow the business to the point where I could balance both and still graduated with honors. So that was great. But 2023, my final year at Bonaventure, I was accepted into the Lane Business Accelerator at Olean, and the Lane Business Accelerator is in honor of Eric Lane. He was a co-founder of Cutco. Anybody heard of Cutco, the knife company? Pretty prestigious in Olean, one of the biggest companies down there. And basically the whole point of that is to scale your business. So I was a part of that, and the whole idea was to talk about like what the next step is, how to get to that point, what that looks like, what we can do to help you get there, and how to, have your business work for you rather than you work for your business. So that was super beneficial. Learned a ton in that, kind of restructured my mindset and just capitalize on that whole opportunity. From there, it was time to get out of my dad's shop because I was starting to like creep up into his space. He's like, okay, I'm sick of having dust all over everything. Let's see what this looks like. And that's when I approached my grandfather. We had a 40 by 72 building in the family that used to be a party barn that kind of turned into storage. And it was like one of those, oh, I have an extra couch. What do we do with it? Oh, take it up to McNulty Road. So it just turned into like junk storage more than anything. And it's just a big pole barn. And I approached him like, what's the status of this? He's like, oh, there's so much stuff in there. He was kind of like overwhelmed by it. And I was like, I'm not. And I was like, I would love to clean this out, like renovate it and make it a better wood shop. It's a huge area, 16-foot tall ceilings, like a ton of space. And he's like, well, if you want to tackle that, like, be my guest. So after a couple months of trips to properties with dump trailers full of stuff, got it all cleaned out, renovated, wired up, moved all my equipment up there, and that's when we really started to grow. So that kind of brings us up to speed as to where we are now. So we'll talk about what's next. But here's a few projects that we've done in the past. It's kind of the top is like where we started as like a hobbyist model. So I was going to cut out like a bunch of odds and end projects. That one in the middle, that big slab, is for Clay Moden with WYRK 106.5. So that was pretty cool. Got to meet him in person. He actually sounds the same in person as he does on the radio, which is interesting to me for some reason. But so we started doing business signage, and I was like, okay, we need to make this official. And now, with a bunch of upgraded equipment and bigger machinery, this is one of the most recent ones. You might recognize it. It's in Arcade now in front of the Red Caboose, Real Life Church. They're doing a great job there. Only a wellness store. We hooked up with that sign. We've done much work for them. And back to Cutco. Cutco has been a great connection through Olean. Excuse me. We've done a bunch of work for them. Actually, that sign got shipped down to Virginia. We hooked him up with everything they needed for installation, give him a template, all the parts of the signage, and that's Steve. He's one of my good friends now. He's the regional sales manager at Cutco. So here's another angle at it. But yeah, so basically, Cutco has their main headquarters in Olean, but they also do like plaza stores. We can come in and buy knives right on site. So anytime they, outfit a new building, they call me, like, hey, this is the space, this is how big it is, and we hook them up with the sign and everything they need. So that's been a great connection. Another big partner that we work a lot with is Moog. They do a lot of trade shows. So basically, we build everything they need for their trade show, so they can just take it there and set it up. So it's all lightweight, super easy for them to set up. So they've been great. We shipped that golden retriever sign to Virginia. It was just a family connection. They wanted a sign for their new house, and that worked out really well. And then, has anybody drove past Conroy's recently?
Yeah, I just did. I
Yeah.
noticed that sign.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did that last year, and in the write-up you'll read about the old pickup truck my dad and I restored. So at 14, I always had a vision of like having a cool truck like this, and then I found one on Craigslist, and I was like, Dad, we gotta go check this out. And we went down there, and it was like from a guy in Chautauqua Lake. He shipped it up here from 50 miles north of the Mexican border in Arizona, and or California rather. And he's like, he got it up here and he realized he didn't want to work on it. It was pretty bad, all rusted out, and he was too old to start taking it apart. And my dad and I, being pretty ambitious and having the tools on hand, were like, oh, it can't be that bad. So spent 4 years renovating it. I wish I had a picture of what it looked like beforehand, but it did not look like that. We had every bolt out of it at least 4 times, it seemed, but got it all cleaned up, got it running, and then that's kind of the ice cream go-getter now. So it looks cool in front of a big Ford site, but carry on. So back to the machinery that I was talking about earlier. The one I'm standing on is my pride and joy, I guess, we use most often is a big CNC machine. It'll fit a full sheet of plywood as a vacuum table, tool changer. I won't bore you with all those details, but it's been extremely beneficial to make huge projects for people and businesses and stuff like that. Lasers engravers, way more precise, way tighter tolerances. So those are like little coasters we made for Bonaventure for the School of Business, which is a pretty cool connection there. So way tighter tolerances, it's way more accurate, it's pretty quick too. There's the mascot, Frank, that's sitting up on the machine on a bunch of cornhole boards. So anybody a fan of cornhole, we can hook you up with that too. And Go-To Meals, that's another company in Olean we've done a bunch of work for. Basically, they tell us what they want, we outfit it with them, and go install them. So a little bit about that process, which makes me a little bit more competitive than the average, I guess you could say, is my ability to like get back renderings. Most people want to know what their sign's going to look like before it's even made, which is kind of where we can help out. So we give you like a 3D model of what the sign will look like, and we go from design, developing it, and then we deliver it. So this is for a company in Olean as well. My entrepreneurship professor at Bonaventure started a coffee company, and that was their logo, start to finish, mounted to the building with a big steel frame, and lickety split. So that leads me to where we're at now. One of the biggest things for me is like space. Keeping things clean, organized is super beneficial in this field. And that's why I want to build a different building to kind of hold stuff that I don't use every day, kind of have it on hand, on site, but out of reach, right? Like the whole step of the manufacturing process. If you don't use it every day, don't have it within an arm's reach. And a lot of times it's material. So 4x8 sheets of material takes up a lot of space, a lot of floor space. It's just constantly in the way and constantly moving it. So having a space like this would be great to put that inventory in, keep the equipment that I don't use every day out of arm's reach and in a separate location on site. You'll notice on the right side, it's a studio space. Now, I personally don't need a studio space because I do most of my stuff in the shop. However, we're going to keep going forward. You'll see why that makes sense. So that's a little area built of the building right now. That's my existing shop, the 40x72 pole building, and then the concrete pad we have on site. So getting built, a new build right over top of that, and that's kind of adjacent to the building. And here's an even more zoomed out image of the total property that I just bought off of my grandfather. So 49.6 acres, the pond out back, that needs a lot of love, but you know, it's got some potential for become an official Wyoming County resident here before long. And then back to the studio. So Olivia D'Amato, she owns Stately Photos. She's a Western American-based wedding photographer. She specializes in weddings, engagements, elopements, family shoots, and commercial client shoots. And this season alone, she has 32 weddings. She also happens to be my girlfriend. So she's constantly on the go. She's gone every weekend shooting weddings. And her biggest thing is having a space for people to come in, talk about what she offers, how she can help, and store all her stuff. Like, it's kind of overwhelming. I thought photography was like, oh, camera, click, shoot. But I've learned that it's not the case anymore. She has a ton of equipment, a ton of stuff going on, has to have a continuous space to edit. So what we're going to do is outfit that space for her to come in, meet with people, capitalize on the Wyoming County backdrop that we have here, to take pictures on site on our 50 acres, and just let her do her thing. So with that, she's going to pay rent for that part of the building and capitalize on that space. And for now, I'll take any questions you guys may have. Thank you.
Is there any plans to make her a partner in the business?
She's got no interest in making sawdust, I'll tell you that.
So the concrete pad that's already on site, what was that built for?
So that building used to be like our party bar when we were growing up with like our whole family. And my grandma got sick of us crashing our bikes on the stone because we just like, you know, lose contraction on the stone. So she's like, put a concrete pad in. We used to just play basketball on it, ride our bikes on it when we were growing up. And then it just kind of sits there now. Like, there's not a single crack in it. It's a super beautiful pad. So it's like, before this goes to waste or somebody drives over with something they shouldn't, you know, let's put a building on it.
Worked out well.
Worked out great, yeah.
Parker, questions, what's the property zoned as? And also, do you have any utilities?
I mean, what?
Utilities?
Yeah, as far as like power?
Well, electric, water?
Yeah. So right now it's zoned agriculture actually, and everybody through the business department was like, if you don't do anything to the outside of the building, it doesn't matter what you do on the inside. So I was like, okay, perfect. Right now we have a 200 amp service to the building, which is more power than I'll ever need. There's 3-phase right around the corner on Barnes Road if I ever did scale to the point where I needed that. But right now it's not really necessary. As far as utilities, there's 2 wells on site, so pretty much everything we need.
Septic?
Septic, yep. Propane, heat with propane, unfortunately, but there's a natural gas line that runs across the back of the property. You gotta see the gas line, but it goes all the way to Fredonia, and they're like, yeah, you're not tapping into that. I was like, okay.
It's amazing.
Unfortunately, yeah.
In terms of visitors, your clients obviously may come. potentially.
Yeah, I mean, typically,
But your tenant, she has clients that also come. So is this building designed to be ADA compliant in that regard, or?
most likely
will it
not,
be?
because it's gonna be, there's not like continuous traffic, and the biggest thing with that is like, we don't have continuous hours, like, it's just more like connections rather than like, hey, we're open from 9 to 5. Especially with a lot of my clients, typically it's done via email or back and forth over the phone. So there's really nobody coming on site to my property especially. And with her, it's just gonna be pretty much like a sit down conversation for an hour and maybe go shoot for an hour, you know, like, it's not really a continuous set of hours, but yeah, there's really no specifics on that, no.
Do you have any employees?
Not yet.
Yeah, what do you plan?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely the playbook coming up. There's a lot of, biggest thing right now is like it's hard to teach somebody to run a CNC machine that's never done it, but there's a lot that happens after the machine's done running with post-processing that really anybody could step in and help with, so that's where we'll have to.
So will this building suit your needs short-term or long-term?
It'll definitely help long-term. It'll help short-term immediately, but long-term, there's a lot of opportunity for that building to kind of put other equipment in, you know, put more storage in there, just make it a really customizable space for down the road as well.
All right. I think we can move on. If there's no other questions for Parker.
No.
Great presentation, Parker.
Thank you, Parker.
Thank you very much.
All right, now we're back to Mark.
Do you want me to stand up there, Sam, or do you stay here?
I think if you're more comfortable right here, that's fine. Yeah. You're gonna start off with just a little dialogue, and then we'll get into some financials.
Thank you, everybody.
After we go to.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Parker.
Executive session. Right, okay.
So as we might all agree, Parker is an impressive young guy at 23. He is right now operating as a DBA. He used to live in Erie County. We might need to be sure I don't know if he has to be registered in Wyoming County, Governor, if that's an issue or not. But he is living on McNulty Road, which is in Wyoming County, and the large warehouse building he's got there is also there. So his loan request in front of us today is that he'd like to borrow $50,000 for the related construction of this 26 by 56 pole building. And that with excess funds would purchase additional equipment for his CNC-based sign business, and then excess would also be used for working capital. The new building, as Parker alluded to, is storage and warehouse of raw material inventory and machinery he's not using on a day-to-day basis. He's told me that the materials he uses, if he can buy them in larger quantities, there would be a substantial savings on his purchase cost. Again, the new building will have a 20 by 26 office, which Parker is willing to lease at $800 a month, and he has secured the tenant. The photo shoot, Ms. D'Amato, that he spoke of. This new building will supplement the existing 40 by 17 Morton, 72, I'm sorry, the existing building. He has an efficiency apartment in there. I wish he would have shown you, but master craftsmanship, he did it himself. It's like a 2-story with a balcony upstairs with the bedroom upstairs, but the kitchen he built out by himself, bathroom, and a place for his dog. What was it, Sam or Charlie? Frank. A beautiful little spot for him. He's really got a lot of skill for a young man. This would all be on a 50-acre parcel that Parker is or will purchase from his grandfather. So the loan he is asking for would be for 7 years, which is 84 months at 2%. with payments roughly of $640 per month. Chairman, from here on, there's some personal information that we may want
Okay.
to.
So I think we will move this meeting into executive session.
Need a motion to that?
Yes.
We have a motion
Yes.
and a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
back to our regular meeting, and we are going to take a motion to approve this loan with one qualification of requirement of an appraisal on the building that he's going to be buying from his grandfather. If everybody's in agreement with that, I'd take a motion.
Inclusive of the new building, correct?
Yes, the building that he's buying from his grandfather.
Right. Okay. I'm just clarifying that, you
Well,
know.
the new building.
The
entire
property.
The whole
property.
property.
The property,
Yes,
Yes, okay.
yes, thank you.
I would make a motion.
Okay. A second. There's no other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And now, Jim, I have to lead this meeting.
Pass the torch to the co-chairman, or the vice chairman. Dan.
Okay, Dan, take over. I've got to take my wife to Buffalo General to get a knee replacement.
Aw. Well, good luck to her.
Good luck.
Right. This is her second one,
Oh,
basically in 1 year.
Okay.
Thanks, all.
Moving along in the agenda, item number 3 is the MK Brownfield cleanup project status.
Yeah, I tried to keep the board updated with photos and things about what's going on over there. We essentially have one building left out of the 19 that were standing there. And everything is scheduled to be done before we get to Labor Day. The program or the project has gone relatively smooth. You know, a few bumps in the road, some hidden basements that weren't discovered, you know, that contained some debris and waste materials that the contractor hadn't planned for, but we do have some contingency funding within their bid to be able to take care of issues like that. For example, this one hidden basement, they had cement wall blocks and then they sprayed styrofoam over top of it, and then they painted over top of it. So they can't take the styrofoam off and use the blocks as crushed recycled material for driveways or anything like that. So it's all got to be disposed of. So that's one issue that has come up. But other than that, things are going really well. A lot of the materials being recycled, which we're delighted about, the metals and the clean concrete and those sorts of things. So we're on course to wrap it up, hopefully by Labor Day. And at one of our future meetings, I will bring LaBella in to kind of give an overall view of the project and give the board a better detail of everything that went on there. But we're excited to see it happen. You know your project's going the right way when you don't hear many complaints from me. And I've not heard any, so.
So once this, the buildings are down and everything is, then we have to go back to the EPA?
No.
Or what's the next steps?
Yeah, it's a good question. So all along, we've had a designated developer agreement with a company called Frontier Global out of Buffalo. They're a brownfield developer. So this first phase is just like knocking down the buildings that contain contaminated asbestos material and disposing of it properly. That will not fully remediate the site because there's still 4 underground storage petroleum tanks that are on the site and an area that where there's some fill that's kind of needs to be removed. That material we left from the EPA work so that it would qualify for the brownfield cleanup program. So this designated developer agreement we had with Frontier, they will come in and take the property over from us and then put that property in an application to the state for the brownfield cleanup, which they then get a very attractive credit on doing the remediation and as well as some of the redevelopment. That designated developer agreement expires in September. This developer also kicked in $50,000 towards the match of EPA. So we haven't got the money yet, but it's on its way. And we are going to renew the designated developer agreement, and they've did a market study on one of the proposed first phase of redevelopment, which will be a market rate senior housing complex, very similar to the Connect 55 down here in Warsaw. So I've seen the concept drawings and everything looks good. The village is very supportive of housing being the next logical use for that site. But overall, the project has gone extremely well. So I want to thank the board for all the years of support on this project. But we're finally getting close to getting this thing off to the finish line.
So Jim, do you have an estimated time frame before this property becomes shovel ready?
If I was to guess, I would say another couple of years.
Really?
Yeah, the brownfield cleanup program is a lengthy process in the application itself, and then there has to be work plans that have to be approved by DEC. One of the hesitations for not jumping right into the brownfield cleanup program is now the state requires a down payment or a deposit of $50,000 from the developer before they will even take an application from a developer. See, it doesn't make sense for us to get in the brownfield cleanup program because the only incentives you're going to receive are tax credits. We're a tax exempt entity. So there's no advantage for us. That's why we're trying to involve a developer in here to provide those incentives that he will finish his project the rest of the way, and it will be all under contract, that he has certain requirements that he has to do to finish it up in a timely fashion and get it into the brownfield cleanup program. And should he not, then the property reverts back to us again. So we have some fail safes in the agreement that the council put in there, and we feel pretty good about where we are with that. But
It's, if I seem to recall, the brownfield cleanup programs are priority based.
yeah, I mean, it
in
can
terms
be.
of their approval from the state.
Right.
How do you feel about us
I think one of the
getting
things that
into
we
that program?
One of the things we did early on, Dan, was when we first did the phase 1 and phase 2 and knew exactly what we had there at the site, we did a pre-application to the brownfield cleanup program with the DEC and had a meeting with LaBelle and myself and the folks from DEC saying, is this thing brown enough for your program?
Mhm.
And at that meeting, they said, yes, it is. So we feel really strongly that it will get accepted into the program.
Okay.
The fact that we've done a lot of the homework already and everything, all the pieces are in place.
Is there any funding required from the IDA?
The only role the IDA is going to play will be down the road when the redevelopment starts.
Okay.
There'll be some incentives for the housing project.
Got it.
That will be considered.
Okay. Questions? Okay. And I guess we could probably move on to the program updates. Is that you, Jen?
Yeah. Do you want to do the microloans?
Yeah, in your report or your packet, there's a list of the micro loan reports. Just a couple things that were kind of left dangling last time this board met was the whole issue related to Doug Tillotson and his loan for the restaurant down here that was not paid. And then another restaurant moved in, was using the equipment that we had a UCC filing on. The new restaurant didn't pay for the equipment. And so there was a long delay in battling things out with the two restaurateurs. So in order to really make this thing whole work, we did a rapid start loan of $10,000 that got the new restaurant to a point where he would have enough resources to pay for the equipment. And then the previous restaurant could pay off their existing loan to the business center, which would then pave the way for his new loan to go into effect for his pizzeria in Attica. So it was a long winding road with a lot of bumps in it. And just so the board knows, we finally got everything ironed out, and we should be, we closed on the restaurant loan for the Attica Pizzeria last week, and he should be opening relatively soon there as well. So the new restaurant here is doing pretty well, and they're happy with the situation, and We released our UCC file on equipment, so we no longer have any
It closed.
security tied to
It's not
that
open.
building or restaurant any longer. So,
Is there any infringement on
That's last
Creative
month's
Foods
Friday.
Warsaw, you know?
So
It's
don't-
Creative Foods, you think, I saw the sign, you know, it must be
You
Creative
need-
Foods,
yeah.
open
If you
something
need it,
in
I can-
Warsaw, you know, that's.
yeah, it's, unfortunately, that's the name that they decided to go with. And when you file an LLC, you put in the name, and if it hasn't been claimed by anybody, you have the legal right to that name. And so that's why they went with that. So it's only has been formed for the restaurant down here across from the hospital. Has nothing to do with the Sands restaurant over here across the road.
And
But it
Dan,
is confusing.
that's August business. I know you're looking for the name on there too. That's July's report.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that there are a few updates from that happened in August.
Okay,
So I guess that was the only thing, that we're having a few challenges with the one rapid loan being in arrears, and we are chasing that. You can see it on the report. We're chasing that on a continuous basis and did get a payment
We
last
did get a
week.
payment in August, yes,
that's the spa.
correct,
Yeah,
Is that the one in Perry?
yes.
yeah.
A lot of empty promises happen with
Well,
communications.
We're live streaming here. so-
These spas just keep popping up left and right.
They do.
I mean, isn't Artisan Villa now a spa?
It's no longer artist.
No.
Or it was artist, but now it's a spa.
Yeah.
But it was just a relocation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then, is there one next to the Sears building up there too, on Main?
Oh,
That
Polish,
was-
that's been there forever,
That's been, yeah.
22 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Sure.
So anyways, the micro loan portfolio is really in pretty good shape. The only other one that's really in default is the bakery, and that was a divorce that kind of sent that loan south. And but we're in communication with that individual, and they haven't moved on, so they still know that they have a commitment there. So I would present that as the micro loan report.
Okay. So that covers micro lane and the rapid restart.
Yeah,
And
get a 2-for-1 special there.
there we go. All right, now Jen,
Fast track?
Fast
Sure,
track.
Sure. We received funding from Tompkins Community Bank, Complete Payroll, 5-Star, and RD Strassel. So thank you, Bri and Rick, for supporting the Fast Track program and the entrepreneurs in our community continuously throughout the years. We did meet with the branch manager from Community Bank, Jason Mongolio, I believe his name is, in July. He understands our programs and the necessities and the value that they are, but some funding to be determined. So that's just the other sponsor that we'd love to have on board to continue. We've had 7 participants graduate in May from the spring class, and we're preparing for the fall class, which begins August 27th and runs to October 29th. And right now we have 7 registered. So we'll go with that class.
No change in instructors?
Not as of right now, but that is in discussions, and we will definitely keep you abreast on what comes of that. They will have to be certified also from the Kauffman Foundation, and they'll have to have your approval.
Okay,
Probably 2025 will be a change, but right now our fall classes are secured.
Like the rest of us, we're all getting a little bit older every year.
We have a new ad starting in September on the ad monitor. I don't know if you recognize that in different locations. There's one down here in the lobby. It reaches about an average of approximately 3,900 viewers throughout locations in Wyoming County, and we took advantage of the free 3 months offered because we are a chamber member. So that's great. You might start seeing that on the monitor. Any other questions for Fast Track? If not, we'll move right into the Accelerator Academy. You're gonna go? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Mark.
you.
Appreciate it. Nice job.
Thank you. Robin, here's your file.
Oh, thank you.
See you later.
Okay, the Accelerator Academy, in addition, we received a $1,000 sponsorship from KeyBank Foundation. We applied for and were awarded $3,600 from the Wyoming we applied through the Wyoming Foundation competitive grant, and we received $3,600 from one of their family funds, the Marjorie and Charles Van Arsdale Family Fund, that's offered through Community Foundation for Greater Buffalo. So very appreciative of that, and that covers most of the cost for the class,
Sure.
which is
So for
super.
anybody that's old enough to remember Bud Van Arsdale, he was president of the Bank of Castile started actually, and was a very strong advocate of business and entrepreneurship. And he was here when I first came to the county. And so the fact that we have a portion of the foundation dedicated to that family coming here means a lot. So his daughter is still alive. She lives in Maine. And I send her every year when we get funding like this, I send her a thank you card, written thank you card, and tell a story about some of my experiences with her dad. So makes it a nice little connection.
So the spring class was completed at the end of April. We actually had some really good feedback and a lot of nice Google reviews this time. We're very encouraging them to, spread the word about our programs. Fall offering starts September 4th through the 25th. We do like to limit the class to 4, but we have another add-on and we just don't say no, so now we're going to run 5 in this program. So we're going to say that program is full. We can jump right on to the mentorship program.
Sure.
You're ready for that. Okay, we have 5 businesses actively in the program with mentors right now. And the exciting part about the mentorship program, which Jim had mentioned prior, Scott and Eric and I had attended a meeting where we were introduced to Maura Dewan, the Vice President of Corporate Affairs from the Ralph Wilson Jr. Foundation. She kind of asked us what our day jobs were, and we started telling her, a little bit about that. And she really took an interest in our entrepreneurial programs. And she connected us with one of her staff members, is Paul Reiser. He is a senior program officer for entrepreneurship and economic development through the foundation. And we met with him and we learned more about this competition that's available to our area called Springboard, which funds entrepreneurial ecosystem builders, which is us. So we did apply for a $25,000 grant. The application was submitted based on the business mentorship program. I'd like to strengthen that program. I'm building core capacity to better support the local entrepreneurs and businesses that are trying to achieve, sustainability and growth. So some of the key components in that, just as a quick overview: expansion of mentorship capacity, technology and infrastructure, maybe getting technology in this room so we can have meetings, virtual meetings, which would
No more wires.
be more with other mentors outside of our region, maybe, broadening our markets for mentors, marketing outreach, participant resources, and evaluation and impact measurement. So that's kind of what I wrote the grant for the mentorship program. So fingers crossed. But in our connection with Paul Reiser, he also got us in touch with this Chris Scofin, who is leading the Springboard competition. So that was a great connection. So we've really covered all our resources in talking about the Springboard application. So applications are due by the 23rd. So we'll see how it goes. This is their round 3.
I think one of the things that we notice about the mentorship program is while we have a small team of mentors that each have a specialization, like we have someone that's really strong on being able to help people with marketing. We have somebody that's strong, can help with financials. There are a lot of other aspects of business challenges where we don't have a specified expert in. Maybe it's retail or something that along those lines. So we want to expand that family of mentors to be able, and we want to be able to set it up so things can be done virtually. So you don't have to be face to face to do this one-on-one consultation stuff. But
And we found too, business owners like to come to this room. It removes them from their environment. So they're removing themselves from in the business and they're actually working on their business. So that's why this actually meeting here has been very beneficial. For
We,
the-
we would like to add like an
It's
HR person that can come in and mentor, things of that nature.
And then,
Because people don't know how to hire employees and what's involved with that.
and when to hire them.
Sure.
And then I'll just wrap up a little bit with programs. As you know, Scott had mentioned before about our new website that was generated. And last we had met, we were gathering some video for doing like a video blog. I did increase our blogs on our websites with press releases, some ribbon cutting stories, and we did do a video portion on Brianne Blazak's journey with Endlessly Outdoors Company. I don't know if anybody had a chance to go on to look at any of our blogs, but in looking at the analytics of it, from June 13th to August 12th, we looked at the event count and we had 424 click activity. So it's worth our time to go through. It's a great story on her. You know, there's a little her journey, where she came from, how she went through each of our programs, where she is today, how she's contributed to the community, and then our little video went in there along with it, and then some nice photos. That's kind of how we're setting them up. So I really do think this blog area on our website is generating enough traffic according to the analytics, without getting too deep into the analytics, because we don't pay for that. Just as for us to kind of look as a quick overview, yep, this is worth it, let's continue on to do this, to generate traffic for the small businesses.
So just to make the board aware, Scott is a part-time employee of the IDA, and as such, is an economic development specialist. So he helps out with a lot of the marketing, the PR work and things that all our entities do. So Scott's had a hand in a lot of this as well.
Yes. Okay, any other questions about any of our programs?
Jen, when do you actually reach out to specific potential donors
For the
You know, like, for
sponsorships?
grants, like the Golisano Foundation, or I don't know, do the Pagulas have their own? I would assume they have their own foundation.
I don't know.
Mario, the restaurant guy in
Oh, Salvatore's?
Salvatore.
Salvatore.
Russell Salvatore.
Russell, yes, Russell Salvatore.
I think
Yeah.
we've tried to leverage our network through the community foundation as much as possible and the connections that we make there.
Sure.
Right.
So that they have a pretty good pulse on any of the donor network within, at
The-
least
the region.
Western New York side.
Mhm.
And there's some big movement going on within the foundation arena in greater Western New York, much of it being driven by the Wilson Fund. Some of the direction in that, they have to spend it down, and they're in year
Right.
5 of the 10 years. So
There's quite a bit of funds.
there's an acceleration, and so
Yeah.
there's going to be some greater connection going on between the Western New York and the Rochester area starting to come together,
Yeah.
and a push to start funding more into rural areas, because a lot of that money's been geared towards, metro.
Community action
Buffalo.
type. right?
Well, yeah, and so there's going to be a greater reach into these rural areas. So that's where that's why we're meeting with the people we're meeting, when we're meeting with, and often,
Yeah.
because we want to make sure we're at the table.
Yes.
I was just shocked to see the decline in funding for United Way, to the point where, they are in jeopardy of being able to provide funding for things like Food Link and those types of things. And I know Golisano tends to direct his monies more toward the healthcare, professions, but I didn't know what it was like coming out of the Buffalo area.
It's good and getting better, I would say.
And I
based
feel
on-
like with us being at the table, like you said, she really
Yeah.
took great interest. I mean,
Good.
made those connections right away, and with this Paul Reiser, her economic development specialist, made the connection right with the person that's running Springboard. This is just, we feel is the tip of the iceberg. Let's get our foot in the door, and I think we're in. It's just, now what direction, we have to have a strategic plan too, of what programs need some assistance. And there's add-ons that I'd love to do that I was even talking with Mark more about in the future. I mean, we really want to expand this so that we're helping the small businesses.
Well, it would seem to me that they would, these funding sources require greater accountability on how we're gonna use the money,
Yeah, and
you know?
absolutely.
To a degree, interestingly enough, though, like the Springboard program, and this has been a movement within the foundations themselves, the once 18-page applications have now been streamed down to like 3. I mean, they really are, they want to put the money out there, they want it used, and so they're really getting away from having the funded people spend all their time doing paperwork and processing documents, because that's what, even the Wyoming Foundation, we went to a much smaller application process because, we're making small nonprofits and things, jump through all these hoops for accountability, and we want to make the money move, and we don't want to spend a lot of time, collecting documents. So, and that's been a movement and a change within the foundation arena in the last, 3 to 5 years,
Sure.
which is good. It's really great for,
Yes.
program recipients.
Makes it easier reporting,
Much easier.
but you still have your metrics put in place.
They do, but they've been much more friendly to recipients.
I think one of the challenges with all of these foundations, they don't like to fund programs that are already up and running to a large extent. They want to be on the cutting edge of something new and things of that nature. That's why you kind of have to reinvent your programming, or as Jennifer said, put an add-on
Add-ons.
and
We're gonna
do
do
something
some
new
add-ons.
twist to it that makes it, so they can use it for their PR and marketing as well. So
Right.
nobody wants to keep funding programs that have been in place for 10 years,
Sure. Okay, thanks. I guess we could move on to other business.
Yeah, I don't have anything else unless any other questions from the board.
And next meeting will be a TBD, right? But we
Yeah.
have to do it before year end so we can file our
Exactly.
disclosure forms.
Exactly right.
All right.
And then, we'll have news about the budget and things from the county, but.
Sure. And if you have any new applications for
Yeah,
loans.
I don't know if that's the way you like to operate. I just don't think we need to meet to have a
No.
meeting. And so I usually wait for there's a couple action items that we could. That's why we haven't met since March.
Sure.
As you can see that we're still very busy doing stuff.
And I appreciate you sending out the applicant information and Mark's assessment prior to, just helps us be more prepared for.
Yeah.
the discussion.
You're welcome.
All right, I guess I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second is fine. All in favor?
I
We are adjourned.
Cut the camera.